Uniform Show, episode 13. We're back for a lot of baseball and one new uniform release in the NBA. And it's been a busy summer for uniforms. We're not even going to get to the NFL. Looking forward to it. There is a ton of new uniforms and alternate uniforms, I should say. Ton of alternate uniforms that have been released and new helmets that we're excited to get to, but there is so much baseball with the All-Star Game, City Connects that we have not come to yet, and more ad patches, not to mention the London Games. Well, let's start with the NBA. The Sacramento Kings released new uniforms, and they were sure in need of new uniforms.
And we have the design that is paying tribute to the original Kings uniforms of the 1980s Kansas City Kings, with the cursive font and underline under the name. Both have the same exact design. And then you have the more modern number font.
Yeah, we were very critical of the Kings uniforms when we did our full NBA uniform review, especially when you have on the jersey SAC.
Yeah.
SAC. And we had a problem with the gray alternate for the Kings. We saw too much of that. And this is a big improvement. I'm not saying these are the best uniforms in the league or even close. I would put them more as average uniforms, but for them, that's great. That's going in the right direction, and I would consider this a real improvement and something to feel good about when we've had a lot of bad new uniforms. Look no further than the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. It's nice to see the gray has been diminished or removed. In the case of the white jersey, too much gray with the now old set.
And I believe the City Edition, I don't have it pictured here, but I believe the City Edition is going to be purple.
Right, it's a gradient purple and black split down the middle, which is a tribute to the alternate jersey that they had in the early 2000s, I believe, where they had something very similar. I myself think the cursive looks pretty good. I still like the Kings font that we grew up with in the 90s better, a little more strong and easy to read. But I don't really like the number design combined with this Kings cursive lettering. Just doesn't match well, and the numbers are just a little too close to the Kings name for my liking.
Yeah, when I look at these, I don't see anything that says royalty. Compare them to the Royals, where there's actually, okay, at least there's a crown on the shoulder.
Right.
Though they do have the color purple, which is a royal color, but when it comes to the font or any kind of graphic, there's nothing there. I would still give this, I'd give this a grade of, it'd probably still be the C range. I consider this average uniforms, but once again, when we're thinking of all the new uniforms that we've been introduced in sports, most of them are in the D and F range.
Right.
So I'm actually encouraged by this. But what kind of grade would you give this?
Probably a C plus, B minus, maybe B. I also think that on the white set, they could have gone with purple instead of black lettering and number. At first, when I first saw it, I thought it was dark shade of purple, but pretty good overall, but not elite.
Yeah, we'll see what they look like when they're on the court.
Right.
I've noticed that with the City Connects, which we're going to get into. Sometimes they look worse, sometimes they look better out in the field or in the sunlight. Not as extreme with NBA, but we'll see what happens.
And it will be interesting to see. Because in the Summer League, they had a design that was very similar to this that they were wearing. And I'm just remembering that they had the number above the name on the back. And if that's the case for these, that's going to definitely bring the design grade down for us.
Yes, actually seeing the whole uniform, just what we have here is the straight on front view, which as far as I know was all that was available.
Yeah.
So far that they showed with the announcement. This was a big one, and one that I was not prepared for. Second half of the season, not the start of the season, second half of the season, the Yankees, right after the All-Star game, announced and showed us they have an ad patch. And when you're dealing with the Yankees, this is a big deal.
Yep.
It's the Yankees. As traditional as it gets.
Very similar to the Cardinals releasing theirs earlier this year. Very historic team with a very outstanding uniform. And like the Cardinals, they did choose a color that blends very well with their color scheme, which we appreciate. But being the Yankees, it's still a large rectangle covering up the pinstripes. So it does stand out more than the Cardinals does even so.
Yeah, I think they did a good job. I can't complain for an ad patch, at least for the home.
Yeah.
And I suppose on the road it looks fairly well also. That it looks good on the road too. I haven't checked it out yet. These were just the pictures that we saw so far. I don't mind the ones that actually are the team color as much because they tend to blend in more. And that's what you have with the white and the blue. Those are the Yankees' only two colors. Are really, I have to say, their only color is blue.
Right.
That's it. So I would rather not see an ad patch on any of these uniforms, especially the Yankees uniform. But all considering, this is about as good as you could have asked for the ad. And we'll see who else has them. And it's just as the surprise was halfway through the season.
Right.
I thought we wouldn't see any until next year.
Them, the Blue Jays, halfway through the season.
Well, we had the games in London between the Cardinals and Cubs. We're going to get to that. This was from 2019. And this is one of those historical uniform games and matchups that we didn't end up reviewing because we didn't have a show. But we sure talked about when it happened.
Yeah.
The Yankees and Red Sox in London, and both teams are wearing white home uniforms, pinstripes for the Yankees and the Red Sox home. Why? How?
From all I read, the Yankees wanted to be represented in their pinstripes, or London, whoever it was, wanted them wearing their white pinstripes. But this is so wrong, especially in the case of the Yankees and Red Sox facing each other.
And they play 2 games. So when they go to London, they play on Saturday and then they play Sunday.
Right.
So you could pack, and these teams actually have packed more than one uniform set in these London games or London series. Well, it's not even a series, it's a set.
Yeah.
2 games. Why could you not just simply have one team wear white one day while the other team wears the home the other day? So they alternate. You have home versus road and road versus home. The only thing that I can say is at least the Yankees have pinstripes.
Yeah.
That's it. But there's still no excuse. I don't care where they're playing this game. If they're playing it on Mars, if they were playing it on Pluto, you should not be wearing the 2 home uniforms.
Yeah, it would be bad enough if it was just an exhibition game, but this was a regular season game. Count it.
Or I should say Jupiter, Florida, or actually Jupiter.
Right. The Red Sox did wear red for the second game, but that still doesn't make up for it.
I mean, this is the Yankees and the Red Sox. That's just what I can't get over. What we're told is the greatest rivalry in baseball, all of sports, is the Yankees and Red Sox. At least that's what we're told by ESPN. And you have this happen. And it's not a good representation of baseball because this never happens.
Right.
Then why are you doing it in London? Not to mention, too, those games were a joke. How many runs are scored in these international games, whether it's London? It wasn't quite as out of hand this year, but that year, that first game, and then the games in Mexico, they shouldn't even count.
Right. That's a bad representation, too, of baseball. They should be exhibition games and not regular season games. And then you have the managers here who are not representing themselves well either because managers don't typically wear the uniform, which we don't like. But we did our review on Aaron Boone not wearing his uniform, but for this game he did. And we didn't do a review on Alex Cora, but I'm sure he rarely ever wears his uniform.
I know this is a uniform show. Sometimes we get a little sidetracked and we end up actually talking about the sport and the games themselves. A couple things here. One is, Aaron Boone. I think everyone wishes they had job security like Aaron Boone. I mean, the guy has never even made it to a World Series, yet they keep bringing him back and bringing him back and bringing him back. Even when the Yankees hit last place, we're told by Steinbrenner Jr. that his job's safe. He's not going anywhere. And then Alex Cora, his suspension with the Red Sox was the biggest joke of all time. And they welcomed him back after the cheating, and the Red Sox don't get any heat over that at all. It's only the Astros, because we got to love the Red Sox just like we got to love David Ortiz. We got to believe David Ortiz was the one honest player who unknowingly failed a drug test because it wasn't steroids, it wasn't performance-enhancing drugs, it was just a big mix-up and a misunderstanding. And then the other point is, okay, the only time these 2 uniforms should be on the same field, home uniforms, is the All-Star game.
Right.
But of course, we don't do that anymore.
Right. Except for Home Run Derby.
Which will be a whole separate episode.
Right.
And then there's this year. So you have the rivalry of the Cubs and the Cardinals, and there's some debate who's the big rivals in the National League. Is it Cubs or Cardinals, or is it Giants, Dodgers? The Cubs wear their classic homes, and the Cardinals are wearing the alternate, but it is a home.
Right.
The only thing that helps is that it's that more of that cream color. It's not a straight white, but it's still a home uniform. It's one I've never cared for. It's the St. Louis one. It's a good uniform, but the Cardinals, we said it, time and time again that you can make the argument that the Cardinals' home uniform is the best uniform in baseball.
Yeah.
And at times, I just can't stand it when they wear this. Anytime they wear it, I'm just like, why are you wearing one that says St. Louis at home that should be more like a road uniform? You're wearing that at home, and then you're not wearing the best uniform in baseball. It just gets me, like when the Packers wear something different at home. I don't care what the excuse is, but anyway, you have two home uniforms here against each other again with the Cardinals and Cubs, and at least all you can say is, well, they're two completely different primary colors. And in this case, the Cardinals have the somewhat slight cream color, and the Cubs have pinstripes.
Right.
But I say the same thing. There's no excuse. And I'm going to be mean for a moment too. Why they have to walk out with the kids? I just don't like it. It's the All-Star game. Can't you let the players enjoy their moment? Or a lot of these guys who get their first time in the All-Star game, they say, well, it's for the kids. Well, they didn't have to do that when we grew up. They do it every year, and they do it in London now, and it's just let the players and the coaches go out there. You know, I sound like a grumpy old man, but I don't like it. I didn't feel like I had to be out there on the field when I was a kid. Okay, so we're done with the London Games, and we're picking on one particular player. We will pick on certain players, not just teams. We talked about Julio Urias before. Take it away.
We were watching a game recently in Seattle between the Mariners and Rays, and Yandy Diaz was the leadoff hitter for the Rays, and he came out wearing a magenta or pink sleeve, a pink belt, and some other pink accessories, I believe, too. And we're confused because it's not Breast Cancer Awareness Month or Mother's Day or anything like that. So what's going on?
You know, what is going on? And it's the $200 million question is there any pink on the Rays uniform?
No.
Is there pink in the logo?
Nope.
Is there pink in any part of the Rays or their team history? No.
No.
You can't find it. Since when can you wear something like this whenever you want, for however long you want? I mean, what's stopping him from wearing this for the rest of his career?
Right. And why can't
there's
any
no
player?
penalty. I mean, I always bring up the argument. Remember when Brian Wilson with the Giants, he had too much orange on his shoes. Well, at least orange was a team color.
Yeah.
And he had to bring out a Sharpie and cover it up, a black Sharpie.
Yeah.
Now we have guys, they used to complain about that. Now we have guys just randomly wearing, and I don't care what the reason is, pink belts indefinitely.
Yeah, and if one player can do it, why can't anybody on any team at any time do whatever they want? If it's that open, then there is no uniformity anymore.
Yeah, this isn't the NBA. We also complain about LeBron James wearing the pink shoes when he broke the all-time scoring record held by Kareem. And in some ways this is worse because it's right there in the middle. You're going to see it all the time. It's not just going to be when you're looking from the waist up. You're always going to see that pink belt.
Yeah. It's a call for attention and just breaking the uniform rules.
I'm saying Rob Manfred, just like I'd say to Roger Goodell. I'm not going to say so much about Adam Silver, but Roger Goodell, especially Rob Manfred, come on and do something about these things. And you got to find the players and hit them where it really hurts to get them to stop wearing these things. Is this what makes baseball no fun? That I can't wear, again, anything I want, basically. I mean, why don't you just fill in the Tampa Bay and make the Tampa Bay on your hat pink? Why don't you do that? Would you stop a player from doing that?
Probably not.
Okay, enough of that. Now we got a whole lot of City Connects. These are the rest of the City Connects that we have not got to. And we're starting with the Rockies. This is an extremely popular one that when I've looked at other people's rankings elsewhere, they love these. These are usually at the top of the list, top 3, maybe even number 1. What do you think about it?
The jersey, as we've already talked about by ourselves, is strongest point. And this picture is a really nice picture, having those mountains with the snow on top of them in the background. On top of it, having the green trees. So it's just all working together here to illustrate what they were going for in the uniform. But definitely the jersey, very strong. And the hats, it's that retro style hat that we call the clown hat. Don't like two-tone hats. And the logo on it is really hard to make out, and it's blue and red or orange, red. That's weak. And then the pants, dark pants. So many of these City Connect uniforms just have to have dark pants. Would have been better with white. And then they put their typical standard logo on the left side. That's a little strange too. So, an okay set.
For me, there is a lot to say, and I really do like the design for the jersey. You know, I would love to see that in purple or black.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Rockies have a very underrated uniform set when we're just talking about their standard uniforms or non-vest uniforms.
Yeah.
I hate vests in baseball across the board. But I like the pinstripes. I like their solid purple. I like their gray even. I think they have really good uniforms. That's why they haven't replaced them. And what was so disappointing when they made it to their lone World Series in 2007, they were in Boston. What they decided to wear those ugly black vests on the road. They were just so committed to the black vest look.
Home man road.
I would really like to see this put to the team colors, the black or the purple. I think if you're just looking at the jersey, it is definitely one of the best. It might be the best of all of the City Connects. My problem is really everything else. That it has to be, could we just have the white pants? If you did that, then we really have something good here. The whole color on color, people have gone, or these teams have gone far too far with it. That just about everybody has to have the color on color. I wish they would learn from the Dodgers and what the Dodgers did with blue on white. But I just don't like, the dark colored pants. And the last one, I meant to bring this up when we were talking about colored pants. There are very few examples of colored pants, even in football, like dark colored pants that work. And some of the only ones that come to mind are the Bears when they're wearing road. Right. White on blue, I really like that. But again, there's more of a contrast because there's so much green on top, green. Or possibly the Texans, not as much, but I do like the white on blue for the Texans. But the only one I'm really coming up with on the top of my head is that Road Bears white on the dark blue. Mm-hmm. But that's really all I'm coming up with right now. And the hats. When I look at the hats, it's true, it's very difficult to make out what's actually there without a close-up. But I see trucker hats. That's what I see. I just get the whole trucker hat feel when I'm looking at these. I'm surprised it's not all vented on the side. It's just, I think the hats are very weak. I do like Connor Joe on the end there on the left. I got a real kick out of that because the Giants had Connor Joe when he was a complete nobody, and he's actually made a career for himself and he's played all right with the Rockies.
Yeah, and I will give them credit too for tying in well to something.
Oh, and I give him credit for not wearing a power ring. Sorry.
Yeah. I give them credit, the Rockies, for tying in something very iconic and noticeable in the design being very, very similar to their license plate in Colorado, which I meant to mention earlier. So a lot of these City Connect designs don't have that strong connection, but the Colorado license plate is very recognizable and iconic if you're from there. So
yeah, and a lot of these things with the City Connects are just very random, or there's like a mishmash of things that, well, you got the mountains there in the background. That's what they're wearing. It's, you know, where they're from, and I really like the fact that they have, you know, some kind of actual like kind of visual graphic on there, and they did it well. Yeah. So overall, I say I certainly like these more than I don't, and I won't call them the best just because I just can't with the green. All the green on green. I really dislike white belts. But it's hard to say exactly how I feel about these, but I do like them overall. It's just I wish we could tweak a few things here with ditch the trucker hat and let's get some white pants in there.
Yeah, and you can also give them credit as a unique shade of green, a little bit similar to the second set of Tampa Bay Devil Rays uniforms that existed, but even a bit darker green.
Yeah, no one else has the look.
Yeah.
So I like it. It's not like I want to puke like when I see the Padres.
Right.
Which many will say is among their favorite, which I don't get just because the colors are crazy. That's it.
Yeah.
So I'd take these over, and I understand why people like these. I don't understand those. The Reds. They are called the Reds.
Right.
So I'm saying, where's the red in this uniform besides the socks and, you know, sleeves, which are optional? It's really embarrassing. Joey Votto, you know, like you're 40 years old and you're wearing this. Just like I'm imagining Aaron Rodgers wearing the black on black. We're hoping it doesn't happen. Black on black and transparent stockings and all that stuff I have nightmares about. But man, where's the red?
Yeah, more red than black. The Reds have used black too much.
Yeah, they've abused black
throughout their history and being called the Reds. But especially in the case of City Connect, and I'm sure they didn't have the benefit of seeing all the other teams ahead of time and their designs, but so many teams already have black on black or black pants. I don't want to see this, but red on red would have been really unique and would have been much more relevant to their name.
There's just too much black with these City Connects.
Yeah.
Too much of the dark colors, like we've said. And the Reds have gone on too long with black. And I've said they've abused black with how much they've worn it, and when they used to have the black brims and everything they've done with the black hats, and too much needs to stop. So I don't like these at all.
Nope.
I think they're among, I'd say they're among, not the very worst, but they're in that lower half. And again, I'm not standing by saying there's any City Connect I'm really that I feel good about. Other than the Dodgers, and we point out our problems with that, and parts of the Rockies and the Giants.
maybe the White Sox.
The White Sox, which is, I'm going back on that from the last episode, that's an example, one of the only examples of a black on black that I like, just because the pinstripes.
Right.
The pinstripes really help. We just talked about the Bears in the NFL are the only team that I can think of with the dark pants that I really like. There's reasons for that, but that black on black with the White Sox, because of the white pinstripes, it will work.
Yeah.
Even though I'd still prefer white pants.
Right. Yeah, the Cincy here should be in red.
It's too big,
at least.
too. It's too big, and yeah, you should have more red in there. So this is a big thumbs down for us.
Yeah.
The Pirates.
And this is similar to some of the uniforms they wore back in the 70s. I like the hat, and being very much a replica from that era. And then you have the black pants, which is historical for the Pirates. So you can give them credit for having a purpose behind it more than just to be different. But the jersey is only okay. The PGH, don't know the story behind PGH versus PIT, but the font is okay. It's a bit thin. Maybe it is a throwback a bit to their old design. The yellow seems to be a little bit of a shine, has a little bit of a shine to it. In the jersey, like a satin, but it kind of shows the wrinkles too, so just okay.
Yeah,
Jersey.
I have a hard time giving this. I'm forcing myself to go in one direction or another, plus, minus, thumbs up, thumbs down. I suppose because of the historical reasons, and they are actually team colors. It's not just some random choice of colors or the kids art contests that went wrong. I'll give it a thumbs up. I don't love them. I don't love any of these, but because some of what you said, it's similar to what they've worn with historic uniforms, and they are actually team colors.
Yeah.
I'll say I like them more than I don't.
Yeah. But in many of these cases with these City Connects, they're imitation throwbacks. Just give us a throwback.
Yeah, just give us the throwback, right?
And just call that your City Connect. If I was an owner, that's what I would do.
That's what's annoying. It's like, could we just go back and just select one classic throwback then, instead of just creating something less than that these teams are wearing?
Right. And as we will discuss in our future MLB uniform reviews, Pirates' standard home and road uniforms are one of the best in baseball.
Easily.
So to see that replaced with this is not good.
The Mariners.
Wasn't so familiar with these myself. But again, a team that just has to have black pants.
Yes.
Blue. There's no black except for the little drop shadow in the jersey. Very little blue pants.
I mean,
or white pants.
And you know, you gotta have the cute yellow belt. And I don't like saying cute in any way with guys, but that's what they're getting at is, oh, isn't that kind of cute? Getting that way. I'm completely different than what I'm talking about with girls. But, you know, it's just an attention getter, and too many of these bright colors for my liking. You know, with these yellows, belt, shoes. Yellow can be done very nicely in a tasteful way. And we say so many times with uniforms, so many of the very best uniforms in sports do have yellow.
Yeah.
Packers, Cardinals,
A's.
Athletics, to name a few. Steelers, yellow, not gold.
Rams, Warriors. Old Rams, not current Rams.
But the thing that they all had in common was they didn't do the yellow shoes.
It was still secondary in most cases.
Right. Not, if anything, you'd have the bottom of the shoe or you'd have the swoosh be yellow. And that'd be as much as you'd go for. But for me, this is a thumbs down.
Yeah. And this is another one like we were just talking about that just needs to be the throwback, not...
Right. We just need to go the 90s uniform.
Yeah.
Please. You have something like that would be available with either the colored brim or not. Don't like it. Thumbs down. Orioles. This is another one. I mean, I thought looked bad when they had the pictures when they showed them off. Originally and on the field, to me, well, it looks even worse because those socks.
Yeah.
That's immediately where my eyes are going. Are those? What is that? What does that have to do with the Orioles or Baltimore? I mean, what is this? What are we going for? Like tie-dye here or something? I don't know.
Yeah, it's...
Not to mention the collar also.
Yeah, that same design is on the inside of the jersey collar, if not the whole inside, and a little bit on the sleeve there too. I guess it's a tribute to the Maryland state flag a little bit, but it's pretty abstract representation of it if it is.
And it has to say Baltimore around the socks or BAL around the socks. It's like they did the exact opposite of the Giants. The Giants said, we're going all orange.
Yeah.
And they said, well, they beat us to it, so we're going to go all black.
Right. Some teams did have the benefit of seeing others beforehand. So, yeah, the cursive B on the hat, I guess, is similar to the cursive B on their typical road jersey. There's no bird involved anywhere here. The Baltimore is placed very high on the jersey. The font is pretty thin. And there just isn't a lot of design there or structure.
They put more effort into the socks than anything, if you choose to wear those socks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's about as plain and boring. Other than, the inside, I just don't even see what was the point of even designing this, if it's optional.
Yeah.
Since there's still a handful of teams that don't have these, such as the Yankees and the A's and the Mets. They don't have these. I just don't see what's the point of this. So for me, it's a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And white belt. Got to have that white belt.
Right.
The All-Star Game. Now, All-Star Game, there's too much to say about the All-Star Game. We're only going to comment on this year's All-Star Game. In Seattle, you had the colors of the Mariners. That's what you had in this game.
Right, the host team, the Mariners in Seattle, were given the color and design, feature and treatment on the uniforms and accessories as well for the most part. 2 years ago in Colorado, it was all grays and dark shades of gray. Last year in Los Angeles, teams had a little more of their identity back with the team name design on the front in gold and white for the National League and dark gray for the American League. But here, these look like the batting practice or home run derby jerseys they used to wear, representing the host city colors and design for the actual game. And for batting practice, teams pretty much wore their standard uniforms with a hat that was almost the same as their standard hat, but with a little star next to the logo on the front and then a arcing upside down V on the side with a patch. But these, Shohei Ohtani's expression is fitting for them because they don't look very good.
And he's got the good-looking uniform of the two.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like either of them, but at least you have some actual color, and we're always going for contrast here with what would be similar to in the Mariners' color, but at least you have white pants.
Yeah.
Oh, and then they throw in the logo on the pants, too. Isn't that a nice touch? It's just stupid.
That's all you get. Very understated. And then the helmet has to be matte. The A and the N have no significance to the National or American League logo at all, because that just wouldn't be cool at all to have the National or American
The
League
old
logo.
stuffy traditional logo.
Right.
Yeah.
Or anything that even is similar to it, or a color that's similar to National American League. Just totally random, lame. But at least the American League had the white pants. And National League, again, they just have to be different and have dark pants.
I'll just say the National League uniform, just give it an F.
Yeah.
I mean, the hats, you see the dark helmet there for the American League, but the hats,
Yeah.
the on-field defensive hats, the hats the pitchers are wearing, F.
Yeah.
And everything down, I mean, could the actual color be any uglier, really? I mean, it's a gray hat.
It's a safari hat.
Kind
color.
of, yeah, with a little color in it, but not much at all. It's not talk about dull. And then you have the dark blue on black.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't get much worse than that. And of course, Zach Gallen here has to have the colored shoes. He has more color in his shoes than anything else.
Yeah.
But ugly hat, and then there's no. I mean, if it was at least white pants or it's gray pants, that would be better.
Yeah.
But the fact that they chose black pants, I mean, what are you doing? Designing this in the dark? And that's what you came up with? Or sketching this up in the dark? Oh, uniforms in the All-Star game are such a disappointment. I at least give the American League ones like a C, maybe, C minus.
Yeah.
The National League's an F. I'll try and say something positive, though, about the All-Star game. Well, I'll say something positive in a moment. I actually miss Joe Buck. I do miss Joe Buck. I can't stand the in-game interviews with all the players constantly. And, wasn't that sweet between Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts and everything? It's like, just stop. Stop. Multiple players being interviewed at the same time. And my positive, though, I'll get to the positive, was Seattle was a great host.
Yeah.
And it's a very underrated park. They had good weather. It was beautiful, and most of the game is played in the daylight on the West Coast. The sun was a little bit of a problem because, you're not actually supposed to play 5 o'clock games on the West Coast.
Right.
The lighting can be a little tricky there, but it is nice to see these games played more in the daylight like they should be. But as you see from the pictures, it's not under the night lights. This is actually sunlight.
Yeah, and the game never was completely dark at any point. So, got to give an A+ to Seattle as being the best city that could possibly host the game for lighting, visuals, having that summer evening feel to the game, which you get some of on the West Coast and other Western cities, but just the whole game, wow.
Well, you have good options on the West Coast. Last year we had Los Angeles, you had Seattle here, you have San Francisco or San Diego. And the whole San Diego All-Star game, that's a whole other story that we need to get to. That one bothers me probably more than any. And if you know anything about uniform history in the All-Star game, enough said.
Yeah.